We think of AWS and we think about Amazon as a hyperscaler, the cloud and stuff, but there is so much more. And getting to know what you do, I mean, you're constantly talking with folks in gaming, sports, video. They're trying to engage with the consumer on all different levels.
Yeah, there's so much happening, and I appreciate you laying out those stats and then also watching that presentation on NAB. I very much appreciate that. I think, let me start with, fundamentally, the cloud has become the backbone of media distribution globally. Without the cloud, it would be impossible for consumers to gain access to streaming services. If you're streaming this right now as an example, these types of services become fundamental for global reach. The cloud also is critical relative to content creation, as well as the ability to create different types of audience engagement motions that can be monetized by organizations around the world. And so to those stats that you just described, at AWS, we have the privilege of working with everyone from content creative studios to global streamers to broadcasters to game developers and game distributors. And it's been an honor to be able to work with them across this motion. One of the things I'm most proud of is that over 1 billion people right now are receiving their streaming content based off of the AWS services that we provide.
It's a lot.
And to your point about games, 750 million people are playing games every single month based off of those same services. And we're not just talking about AAA games like Fortnite, but casual gaming as well, like Candy Crush or Wordle from the New York Times. By the way, again, all great AWS customers.
I play Wordle.
You do play Wordle. I know that about you. And I'm guessing you have a text string of like people you compare Wordle scores with, right?
Maybe,
Including many of your siblings.
Yes, indeed.
This I know about you, Carol. I want to talk a little bit about some big customers. Netflix, for example, is a huge customer. When you look at areas of growth across AWS and kind of overlay that with consumer behavior, where is the biggest area of growth right now in terms of what people are demanding?
Yeah, so two things. One is I thought Greg Peters did a wonderful job last night during the Bloomberg Screen Time presentation. I really loved how he talked about Netflix being a build versus buy culture.
Yeah, he's co-CEO of Netflix, for anyone who missed that.
Yeah, thank you. And so it's very important that we ground ourselves on that too, because at AWS, we want to be able to provide the building blocks or the primitives to allow for anyone to be able to build anything that they could imagine. And Netflix has really leaned into that very technical organization. We're delighted to be able to partner with them for so many years. And then to your second question about like, what are we seeing? Fundamentally, I'm hearing three things from customers all around the world that they want. The first is they want to be able to create more content, high fidelity content at a lower price point, much faster than ever before. And this includes live content like the ones you're watching right now, to episodic content, to theatrical content, to animated content, you name it. They want to do it faster, cheaper, and better. The second is that they want to really cultivate multi-channel monetization opportunities. So this means being able to go beyond an ad impression, but really look at being able to monetize against a 360-degree perspective of how their IP shows up across different mediums. And then finally, everyone's hyper-focused on next generation of fan engagement. How can you really enhance the experience so that you don't just retain subscribers, right? But you have people coming back for more and more. And I think the through line underneath all of that is the availability of generative AI and what that can help do to help to really augment our capabilities and accelerate innovation, but then also just make us so much more productive.
One of the things I thought, because I thought about your world and all the things, whether it's media, entertainment, games, sports, which thing is kind of driving demand at AWS? I'm just curious, because we keep hearing so much about gaming, everyone getting into gaming.
Well, Drew, we're going to talk a lot about gaming over the next 3 hours on our program.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a big theme here.
Well, look, we have customers across all of those industries. Let's start with what's going on in the industry. PwC released a study recently saying that by 2029, the entertainment industry is going to be worth $3.5 trillion. That's up from $2.9 trillion last year. It's like an add of $600 billion worth of opportunity out there. And I think that if you work backwards again from those generational preferences that we're seeing, like you talked about Gen Alpha, Gen Z's propensity for games, for social, for user-generated content, for music, for audio, this really signals to more traditional established entertainment brands that it's no longer sufficient for them to be good at one type of medium anymore. They really need to diversify. They need to create much more interactive and immersive experiences. And so we're seeing this convergence of the tech come together to be able to allow for new product propositions to come to market faster than ever before. And one of the things that I'm very interested in is what that type of pressure is going to do amongst startups versus that more established legacy brand. And now you had mentioned gaming. Like I think that some of the incredible convergence that we're seeing across game tech. If you look at what Epic did last year with Fortnite and the concert that they had with Snoop Dogg, I know you had Snoop Dogg on this program last year, but they did an incredible job. They did a live concert. Snoop Dogg was there. It was in the game. They were able to attract millions in-game, millions more across digital platforms, and they had thousands show up in Times Square. But then Roblox is also doing the same thing. And I was just upstairs with Eunice from Scopely.
She's going to be on a little later with us.
Oh, tell her I say hi. Great AWS customer. But you look at what they've been doing with Pokemon Go, that again speaks to that convergence, because you want to meet consumers wherever they are across all demographics.
So just to follow up then, so is it gaming where you see the most growth, where even like traditional media, if you will, that's where they want to go? Or is it all of it? You know, we mentioned sports has also been an explosion. You guys have done a lot with F1. So I'm just trying to, is it all growing kind of at the same levels, or is it one thing, sports over gaming, or something that's really leading the way?
So I think the question comes down to, like, where is the engagement the best? Definitely live sports has an engagement factor that's unlike other types of traditional mediums. Again, that's why we work really closely with Formula One, the PGA Tour, the NBA. Actually, just last week we announced a strategic relationship with the NBA. We're now their official cloud and cloud AI partner, because we're going to be able to launch something called NBA Inside the Game, powered by AWS, where we're going to be able to create a platform to ingest billions of data points from these games in order to create a more interactive and insightful gaming sports viewing experience, like really get you behind the game. So that's one element of it. But then I think you also can extend it to the engagement that occurs across, again, traditional gaming, but then there's also betting and gaming as well.
Yeah.
So to follow up on that, on the live sports part of this, early in my career, I remember covering the Yahoo NFL game that was broadcast. This was hard to believe 10 years ago at this point, and there was so much attention on this because it was like the first streamed NFL game. A tech company was doing it. Now this is table stakes.
Absolutely.
Especially when it comes to AWS.
Right.
What goes into producing something live versus delivering content that's already recorded? Is it much more processing? Is it much more pressure? What is it?
Yeah. How technical can I get here?
You can get technical.
I was also going to say, like, what takes... There's a whole bunch of people behind here, what it takes to put this together live, and it's
incredible.
And we are wearing these like the football announcers.
I know. I actually feel like we're commentating a live event here. So look, a lot goes into it, right? So I think fundamentally there's elements that are similar, right, with like the distribution of the technology, especially associated to streaming. But there's quite a bit that goes into the production of content. You need to be able to ingest live feeds. You need to transcode those feeds. You need to package those feeds, and all of those have historically been done through more legacy technology stacks that have had to reside on-prem. Actually, just last month, we announced the 10-year anniversary of our AWS Elemental Media Services. These are purpose-built services for broadcast and production, and they allow for us to do all those things that I just described that have historically been on-prem. You could do them in the cloud. And customers are adopting them at scale. We work really closely with customers like Fox, the BBC, NBC Universal, just to name a few.
And when you say on-prem, you mean on-premise. It's the idea of actually having this equipment with you at a certain location versus having it in the cloud.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think to your point about the transition, well, why would you want to do that? You would want to do that because there's sustainability benefits associated to it. There's cost benefits associated to it. And then if you're in a position where you have to actually roll out less physical infrastructure, it allows for you to create more content, more shows. What would be preventing you if you had infinite resources from being able to cover more events like this around the world simultaneously? That's what the cloud really provides.
I am curious about the AWS stack, because I think so much of what we do on a daily basis is we talk about generative AI, large language models, every industry, finance, healthcare, you name it, that are tapping into it. So we think about Amazon on that level. But then I'm hearing about all the stuff that you are doing specifically with specific clients, and it sounds like that's another in the pecking order. So talk to us about that stack.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm hyper-focused on serving the media, entertainment, games, and sports industry. Everything my team and I do is really grounded around taking the AWS services that exist. There's over 200 that have numerous features, and making sure that we have a subset that are very purpose-built for the needs of entertainment customers. And then we're also focused on ensuring that we can help advance the industry associated to it. So as an example, we're active participants in the Society of Motion Picture and Television Engineers. We actively engage with C2PA, which is focused on provenance. We actively engage with Movie Labs, which is really focused on this vision by 2030 of being able to create entire pieces of theatrical film in the cloud. And we're the only technology provider that's been able to satisfy 5 of the 10 different principles that they're aiming to go after. So I share that with you because I think When you look at AWS, we are the world's most comprehensive and most broadly adopted cloud, and we have 200 services that can be used to invent almost anything. My job, my team's job, is really to make sure that we bring that subject matter expertise to bear to be able to ensure that the outcomes that matter most to our entertainment customers can be realized and that we're able to bring the industry along with us.